Okay. Are we live? Are we decently live right now? Is it decently live streaming? Hey everybody, today was such a hectic and intense day that I was like, yo, I need to give a talk. So, this idea arose to me, and also to my Wi-Fi connection, evidently not. Just a second. Alright, let's go. Let's do this. We get one lifetime to advance civilization. It's like, imagine if we don't use it. Alright. So, just a second, guys. Just getting the music going. Alright. So, let's dive into it. What is human decency? Really? And so I thought this is an important question. I thought this is a question that will occur to every human being's mind, to every human experiencer in this realm. Why? Because this world shows us not only what we are made of, but shows us what it is made of. Okay? You know, when you start off in this world, reality is obviously simpler. In other talks, I gave the example of thinking that the mind is like a sphere. Imagine the mind is like a blue sphere, and imagine your body is like a green sphere. And I want you to imagine these two spheres are overlaid. When you are young, okay, your mind is smaller than your body, in a manner of speech. That means your mind is not even considering your body. When you see a toddler, when you see a young child, what are you actually seeing? You're seeing a creature that doesn't know how it is a creature. It doesn't know the complexity. You know, when I was young, you know, I wouldn't say I had this intent to grow up quickly. You know, a lot of children nowadays, any child you see who's trying to grow up quickly, I mean, of course, circumstances can awaken you. So, to continue. So yeah, I wanted to say, if you consider it as spheres, okay, it's kind of like the sphere of the body, the green sphere is bigger and the mind sphere is smaller, right? So it's kind of like when you're young, your mind is in your body, okay? That means it's as if your mind is having, I shouldn't say it like this, I should say it. What I'm trying to say is that you log into your personality. You're not born into a personality. Okay, you're born into this world as a biological organism, but when you look at the cognitive system is being sculpted by everything that the child experiences. When we look at a human being and we wonder, yo, is that a decent human being? Is it not? We can choose to see the idea of decency based on the past. We can choose to see the idea of decency based on, let's say, a new definition in the present, or we can even consider decency to be the future. For me, I'm that human being who noticed that so many human beings right now in 2023, if the identity, if we could just playfully say the identity or an archetype of one's identity is like a program, what I'm trying to say is that when you think about human decency, when you think about the human being from the sense of the past, you're like, yo, if the human being doesn't do these actions, indecent. Okay, that means if you have an expectation on decency, you're going to see a lot of indecent stuff. Okay, but if you realize decency is the natural state. And what does decency mean? Some people very poetically and beautifully say that it's your heart. And somebody's gonna be like, Mr. Within, what do you mean my heart? Do you mean like, like a cushion shaped like a heart, and do you mean like a box of chocolates, or yawning and putting your arm around your girlfriend, soon to be girlfriend. So what I'm saying is, when we think about human decency, or when we think about anything, all right, human beings are either basing it on the past, either they're honest enough to be in the present unknown, or they have visualizations and visions of the future. The visions of the future has to do with the inner life of humanity. So the cool thing that I consider is happening to the human experience is really this, okay? We have an objective existence simultaneously happening. We have an objective existential event simultaneously happening alongside a subjective experiential event. The product, the outcome of the subjective experiential event is, in some sense, the inner event. Okay, when I was younger, right, I will tell you how naive I was. Okay, when I was younger, right, somebody was like, yo, religion's telling you got a soul, the mirror is telling you got a body, okay, and people are telling you got a mind. All your teachers and anytime you do something foolish, people are like, use your mind, it took me so long to understand that the mind is not a shape. It is the wielder of shape. It is the wielder of reality. You have one of the most advanced technologies accessible to you as an organism, and so you may choose to look in the outer realms and identify based on that, or you may choose to look in the inner realms and realize that this world is truly advanced. Wake up, dear humanity. You're not in the middle of nowhere. Even though I've said that thousands of times, we're on a rock in the middle of nowhere. But guess what? The nowhere becomes now here through a mere intent. The most majestic, beautiful idea that I have heard about God is the idea of light. Many people see God as light. But let me tell you why it's majestic. It's majestic in the sense of, I don't know if anybody's experienced this as a child, 100% people have. But when I was young, right, I remember I don't know, for some reason my family like the curtains, and when I was a kid in my room, like the curtains were like freaking like wall level curtains. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, in the future I was like, yo, might have been like so that it was just these thick curtains, okay? And so it would cover out the light. And I remember in my dark room when I was a kid, right, I would just open the curtain just a little bit and I would see that beautiful straight light beam. They say there are no straight lines in nature, but light is, a straight line in nature if you see it. Maybe it's still you could see it as particles or waves, let's say. So anyways, where I'm going with this is that I'm trying to tell you that human beings are identifying based on, let's say, past, present, future. And if we are to think about decency, I will tell you, whoever you are listening to me on this planet, there's 8 billion of us here. There are so many different cultural programs that if you base right and wrong on your own unique story of your people or your land or something, you are actually being rude to God's creation. Right? This is something which I think a lot of religious people forget when they notice politics, is that isn't everything God's creation? Isn't the evil beings also God's creation? Aren't the good beings God's creation? Right? What is it that has made us so convinced that one should suffer and the other should not? And there is an answer to this. The answer to the justification of what type of karma you get as a being in this realm is based on the responsibility you uphold. So in this lifetime, I as a being, it was a decision. I decided to live for my species. I was like, okay, I'm living at a time where everybody, it's like we're living at this hilarious time. Okay, first it was object worship, then it went to subject worship, then it went to people worship, which was a combination of objects and subjects, and now we're like, yo man, it's like the inconceivable was the correct answer. When, for me, this might sound bizarre to some people, but the most beautiful idea in religion, the most incredible and fascinating and most advanced idea in religion is that the origin of reality is originless. The origin of reality, the origin is based on the conceivable in manifestation. So do you understand? It's like conception is realizing it's being inconceivably broadcasted. Oh my God, are we fields of energy? You know, why was the Bhagavad Gita saying the field of the activity of the knower? Who is the knower? There are so many believers in this world, right? There was a time where, you know, I'll tell you something so hilarious, okay? I don't know if this was with one of my, you know, relatives, uncles, you know. I don't know who it was. It even could have been even like family members, my father or something, right? I don't remember who. I don't think it was my father, okay? But I remember, you know, this was when I was younger, and my emotions were doing the thinking for me. I hadn't realized how beautiful it is to look at life and appreciate its sequences. That's the beauty of logic, by the way. It's the beauty of sequence. God has created incredible sequences in this reality if you believe in God, right? But what I'm saying is that okay, so the thing I want to tell you, the story is, so I remember once, this was when I was younger and emotional, and I was trying to prove a point, okay? And I remember, like, it wasn't as I didn't have the capacity of speech I have now, and I remember I just put some words, like I just somehow completed my sentences, and I said something, and there was a moment there was a moment for a sec, right? Whoever I was speaking to looked at me and started laughing. Because the string of words at that time where I was unconscious of my inner realms, what I had said was that it wasn't even something I believe in. It's not belief. I'm not like the savage person. I've had a passive nature since my youth. You know, I'm not like the savage person. Well, I believe in cupcakes. Anybody who doesn't believe in cupcakes, I'm gonna go destroy your pastries. You know, I'm not like that level of savageness. You understand? For me, the incredible thing about human life, and even if you go ask many monotheistic religious scholars, what is the soul? Do you know what answer they give? What a beautiful answer there is. The soul is the mystery of God, or in other terms, the soul is the secret of God. Why is the soul the secret of God? Because imagine imagine some scientist thousands of years from now creates an android and then puts the android in a room and from mirror walls this inventor looks at its invention. This android suddenly becomes conscious. Oh my God, I'm in a room. How am I in this room? Did the room suddenly make me appear? Was I created? You know, do I have an inventor? Am I the inventor? Do you know, how can I have an inventor when I have free will and decision making for power? Many people in mysticism, they don't say this, but your free will is disguising the divine will. This is why faith arises when it's inconceivable. Belief is conceivable. Belief has to do with the conceptions in your inner realms. Belief is literally, and I'm not saying belief is not important, because belief doesn't just mean belief. You know, for someone it could just be their knowing, believe it or not, right? You know, or it could be, or here, let me correct what I'm saying. There's somebody standing, let's say person A is standing in front of person B, and behind person B, okay, there's like let's say blue elephant, you know, or let's say like an elephant that is literally, when you look at the skin of the elephant, you see the whole stars in the cosmos and whatever. Like, let's say a galaxy skinned elephant, okay. And so person A and galaxy skinned elephant is behind, what do you call it, behind person B, and person A says, yo, person B, imagine person A says, yo man, I know that there's a galaxy skinned elephant behind you, and the person's like, I don't know man, I don't, like, you know, the person can say, my point is, the idea is Belief is when you don't know. But if you knew, then there is no character in a story to go believe anything, because you know. Right? Imagine, it's like imagine telling someone, do you believe you can drink water? Do you believe? Or do you know you can drink water? Do you see the difference? Alright, so guys, I read what was in the chat section. I'm not going to read it out loud, but I'm acknowledging it. Yeah, I mean, okay. Somebody in the chat section says there's a concept by Rudolf Steiner called the Guardians of the Threshold. It basically states that that these higher beings are protecting higher knowledge and only allowing those who are worthy from accessing. Okay, yeah, I think that's too individual. That's too character in a story thinking, right? We have to have the ability, the audacity, and the wisdom to realize that there is a potential, the truth of the world is not human. Whoever you are listening to me, did you hear what I just said? There is a chance that it's not humanized. But religious revelation is an incredible clue. For me, some people look at religious books and they're like, yo, what are these symbols on this piece of paper? For me, I see, this might sound strange, but I see divine codexes. I see, there was here, I'll say it. When I was younger, okay, not younger, like this was maybe like 6 years ago or something, maybe even more. I got this inner insight that you do not read these religious books just like you read a normal book. These religious books are books that this might sound bizarre, but they are alive because they are in the presence of life. So what it means, what I'm trying to say, religious books are not books. They are authorizations of will. It's another way of saying these books call you. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, they don't call you on a phone, yo, come and read this book. No. That's human ego. You will find in your karma drawn to where you are required in this life. And if you are, this is the difference between how the Sufis would say an old soul and a young soul. The old soul has no ego on its shape, on its existence. But for many beings, their ego is the source, their existence is the source of their ego. This is why you have people like Sadhguru saying like some people, their moment of enlightenment is after death. Why? Because what they are identifying with is being treated as absolute. Do you understand? You see this, there's this incredible story. I guess story time. This merchant back in the day in the Middle East, and in the Sufi Eastern tradition, this is like 1,000 years ago, they had this, how would I say it? Pretty much they had this, there's this story, okay? This merchant, this guy who had a caravan, imagine with like, horses or camels or something in the desert, taking like products and taking it to villages and helping people out. This businessman, this merchant goes to this one village, okay? And back in the day in the Sufi tradition, there was those people who they considered to be enlightened, they wouldn't say, yo, that's an enlightened guy. They wouldn't say it like that. They would say that person has the pearl, just like the idea of the pearl in the oyster. That person has understood the essence of life. The essence of life is not an analogy. It's not, and it's not it's not analytical. It's not a story. You must understand that you are dressed in language as a being. You're not the language. If somebody comes and says, yo, you're a good guy, you're not that language. If somebody comes and says you're a bad guy, you're not that language. You know? That's what I'm trying to say. So what happens in the Sufi context? This merchant goes to this one village and he does his business and all of this. And then there's this gentleman that comes and says, merchant, I do not have like the price of like what you want, like the money to give for this item I need. Okay? Is there a way you can help me out or something? And the guy, I don't know if he barters or what happens, right? But the merchant helps him out, helps the guy out, does a favor for him. Then this this is how the story goes. The merchant says, don't worry about it, my friend, it's all good, just live on, right? And then this guy, the guy who the merchant helped, comes to the merchant and says, listen, man, I might not have like money to give you, but there is someone very special in this village, someone who has the pearl. And because you're kind-hearted, I think it's good for your heart to go consult this man, right? And so this guy's like, yo, there's an enlightened guy in this village? No way, And so this merchant goes to meet this man who has the pearl. Who is this man who has the pearl? And he goes and sees at the end of the village there's like this house, and it's kind of like a Shrek movie door, okay, not that intense, but this guy goes and he sees, this simple house, minimalistic house, and he goes there. And the guy's a merchant, right? He has layers of clothing on. Back in the day, people were like, yo, does this guy have 2 layers of clothing on? Who the hell does he think he is? anyways, but, the guy knocks on the door, and it's a Sufi dervish. The Sufi dervish opens the door and welcomes the gentleman, the merchant. The merchant goes and sits there. The Sufi dervish starts preparing tea. And this merchant, he's sitting there kind of awkwardly, and, of course, it's not just smart businessmen. It's just like good people, they find something interesting in the moment to talk about. It doesn't matter whether it's, through decency. So anyways, this merchant's sitting there in this dervish's house. He looks around and he sees this mystic's house, this like sage's house. And he says he sees the guy only has a kettle, has a mat, and has a lamp, right? And so in that situation, right, the merchant says, my fellow friend, my fellow customer, not kidding. The merchant says, my friend, where's your furniture? Just to start conversation. He says, where's your furniture? And so this Sufi guy who's pouring tea suddenly, with a complete, as if he's become somebody else, not as if he's become somebody else, but with complete intensity, he looks at him and he says, where's your furniture? And the merchant is shocked. Sorry guys, I'm taking a long time to share this simple story, but so the merchant is shocked. And the merchant suddenly gets a little offended, his ego comes to the, front lines, and he says, where's my furniture? I'm a merchant. I'm a traveler, bro. I travel in this world. I'm a traveler. What do you mean? I don't have furniture, And so then The Sufi mystic suddenly smiles as if he drops the act, and he says, "Me too." And then, for the first time, this merchant, a man of business, a man of culture, a man of sophistication of various structures of behavior he has lived through, suddenly realizes he could look, life can change internally. And he realizes, right, that the Sufi is saying, just like you don't have furniture in this world. You know, just like you're a merchant traveling, a traveler doesn't need furniture. The moral of the story was that your soul is like that traveler. Do you understand? The guy was living like a minimalist because he was not just experiencing life as a physical accumulation of objects. What are we, like the caretakers of objects we can't take to the afterlife? Like, what is this? You know, we have to make efficient strategies, immediately solve global problems because they're cool. They're like, you know, it's like super cool to do that. So many people are like, yo, how can I help the world? Yeah, look at it. You know, tons of problems. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is that based on who you are, you may not be in this world just for, you know, a physical thing. Do you understand? Like, you know, when I was younger, I wanted to be a soccer player. Do you believe that? I wanted to be a football player. I remember seeing Ronaldinho, and you don't know how many times I tried, and how many times I tried until I got there around the world. Right? I tried it with a handball first, you know, but I could do that around the world. You know, once you get the memory, you know, muscle memory, you know. I wanted to be a soccer player, and guess what? You know, I'm playing football in my interims. So what is human decency? Human decency is caring for humanity. That's how it starts. And you might be somebody like, yo, Mr.Within, people were evil to me. Like, how can I forgive these people? You know, it's like I experience hatred. How can I let it go? I experience savageness, viciousness. How can I let it go? You know? But you might not realize it. That's the only thing you can let go. If you don't let go of it, then you become it. Did you know that? For example, you know, it's the same with other addictions and whatnot. It's same with food. You know, if you don't let go of, you know, like just sugary drinks and carbs, right? You become like, you know, as the legends say, or the future legends will say, a fat man. You know, right now we're living at such eras of evidence. I don't know. I'm not experiencing it like that intensely, even though I'm living in Canada. But like, you know, people are making it to seem it's like we're experiencing such a level of, you know, such level of wokeness that to say like a fat man, that's like equivalent to a mythological legend of Hercules. Like, yo, there used to be fat people in the world. You believe that? Of course, guys, you know, I'm not that, you know, skinny at the moment. But what I'm trying to say is there are many things in life that we can appreciate, but many people are under the impression that they have to appreciate something only specifically. Okay? You see, there is a clue, very fascinating clue in monotheistic religion, I find. I think this is one of the most incredible ideas, that it's as if God, you're in a world, this world was created by, let's say, God, by the Almighty, by in the name of the most advanced. So it would be another way of saying, if you know God, you are knowing all that moves in the world. This might sound strange, but I would say it like that, you know. I think if you have a non-dualistic perspective, you would probably see everything as one occurrence, and I feel that is a valid view on the divine. In many religious ideas, the idea of union, divine union. Why do you think so in monotheistic religions people are trying to be humble, and get rid of their ego? They're getting rid of their ego so they can unite with the divine state. You see, you can have this view that, the ancient yogis had this view that there is an individual self, there's a universal self, and then there is a self. There is a type of you that has never been born and can never die. Like, it can't change. So it's kind of like, so it's as if like the individual you is from the moment you were born in this lifetime. That's like the one view. The universal self is the moment your consciousness, whether as a field or as a fragment, began becoming conscious of universal being. So what I'm trying to say is that the behind the scenes of your ego, you are the modern adaptation of an ancient world. You are as ancient as the star stuff, as the elements of the periodic table. I have this attitude sometimes when I sleep. At the end of the sleep, I kind of have this attitude with my body, just with the moment where I just salute. I'm like, okay, I thank every cell of my being for its service for the day. Every moment of manifestation is an incredible opportunity. And some there was these stories, they would say, this guy died after 70 years, and after he died he realized what life was. Like, how he realized he was alive. That means he didn't realize he was alive when he was alive. Afterwards he realized he was alive. So Mr. Within is saying, God is the life. Or let me say it this way. There was this mystic by the name of Kabir, and this mystic was an Indian yogi, but the name Kabir is Arabic, and I believe it's one of the names attributed to God, which means greatness. Kabir, right? So the sage Kabir, he looks at one of his disciples and shouts at the disciple and says, "Disciple!" And the disciple is just there listening, and he says, "Disciple, tell me, what is God?" And the disciple says, "The breath inside the breath." Now, that may be transcendentally alluring, but what it's implying is an implication to the monotheistic narrative that an inconceivable creator, imbued from its own life force, from its own breath, it was as if, this might sound strange, but from the monotheistic, at least this is my understanding, if I'm wrong, I hope to be corrected. My understanding is that from the monotheistic view, there was no doubt. Existence was commanded. This might sound bizarre, but it seems like conception has inconceivable commanders, or an inconceivable commander. The great watcher of worlds. The great presence of all timelines. The heart of the living world. if somebody says, are you a decent person? If somebody says you're an indecent person, if they ask me, I will say this question's answers is sort of dependent on they call it moral relativism. So my view is that we are all in one, just like a multiplayer online video game. When we wake up in the morning, we're logging in, we're logging into our consciousness. Consciousness finds itself in one outer, in front of our eyes, one physical map, right? Like a video game, like multiplayer online game map, but instead of pixels, it's the periodic table. And in the inner realms, it's as if every person's soul is who's sitting behind the screen of their self, poetically. And for me, I stopped playing games with my soul by constantly giving it narrative after narrative, and I honored the unknown. And you might not believe, maybe it's not something for even belief, but if somebody says, Mr. Within, what is here? I will say the unknown knows it's unknown. Thank you for listening, dear viewers. This topic is very vast. There's so much more to say. I will finalize the idea by saying that what is human decency really? Human decency is us being like, yo, we evolved all this time, right? We attained civility. We're not like beastly anymore. Okay, we're civilized beings, and we're intelligent, and we are a street smart species in this galaxy. Okay, and so hilariously galactic street smart. Somebody's like, yo, there's streets in the galaxy. It's like, yo, there will be, maybe. So anyways, my vision is that sometimes in this life, when something happens, right, and with decency, when somebody talks about decency or indecency, it's another way of saying, are you worthy of continuing into the future of your world? That's what decency means. If you're doing too much indecent stuff, something, either it's a miscalculation or a misdirection. But the idea is that if you look at the biological body, it heals itself, right? And doesn't it make sense that creatures in a world should naturally know it? Like a tree, imagine you put a seed in the soil, and imagine the seed became conscious. And the seed's like, yo man, am I trapped in a meaningless dark world, dark universe, and I don't understand, like, why am I here? Who put me in this soil? Like, why is it so cold here? Where are the others? And little does this seed know it will be an oak tree. Little does the human species know the greatness of humanity. How advanced you will be, all of you. And advanced civilizations to come. Oh. We're going to be those beings who, I think we're going to be a righteous species, and let's say there's heaven, right? And imagine everybody got into heaven, and like imagine all the angels, and we're like, yo, everybody got into heaven, yo, how? And then they realized human beings stopped judging themselves into oblivion. And this is the power of care. This is something that it may be strange to the evil person. It may be strange to the beast. It may be strange to those who are open to the monstrous dimensions of reality. But let me tell you, it's a remarkable experience. You shouldn't miss out. That, even they say whatever kind of person you are, like, in order to just to live in this world in a healthy way, you must find something that you care about. I'm telling you. That means somebody caring for themselves alone is better than someone not caring for anything at all. Like a narcissist, this might sound bizarre, right? But, I mean, of course, narcissists, different karma. But let me say, like, okay, let's say a narcissist, which is a kind of like arrogant solipsist. A bold solipsist, I think, is like another way of saying narcissist. So the narcissist that thinks, yo, I know, or I care for myself alone, screw the others, that being is ahead of the being that doesn't care for anything at all. That's a weird state, right? Like if you've been alive in this world and you haven't found anything to care about, it's like, yo, look around more. And for me, what I'm trying to say is sometimes if you evaluate yourself based on your past, you might not be worthy. Okay? For example, when I was younger, I spoke rudely, I did rude things, was very open, very oblivious, arrogant. But I got to see what I was not. And that's, I think, a real blessing. To see what you're not. Because sometimes when you see what you are, you don't know what being means. But everybody can know what they are not. You know what emptiness means. You know what absence means. Like right now I'm giving this live stream, right? I don't know how long I'm gonna be here. This might sound bizarre to people, right? And I live such a, sometimes I think like, yo, am I an ant? Am I an ant? Am I someone who's made it to the am I on top of a mountain, or am I an ant under a mountain? What I'm trying to say is this world, after 31 laps around the sun, I don't just, I am tired of believing in masks. Okay? The poet Rumi says your task is not to seek love, but to get rid of all the barriers you have made against it. Your task to be advanced is not per se you gotta go do something advanced. It's to get rid of all those things that are not advanced in your life, and you will automatically either find the advanced civilization or it will find you. For me, just like I was telling you, books call people, ideas call people. This might sound bizarre to people, but in my inner realms I acknowledge it, that the spirit of advancement of this cycle, this time around, I think has chosen me. And when I say spirit of advancement, I'm not talking about like some, I'm saying that it's the response. It's the responsibilities of what is real, not to just our body, not to just our mind, but to our being. You see, if somebody says Mr. Within, or in that airport terminal, like I am in that terminal, right? If I sit on a chair and somebody says, yo man, are you sitting? Do you identify with sitting? Are you a sitting being? I'll be like, yeah man, I'm sitting in a chair, of course. And if somebody says, yo, do you identify as a human being, non-human being? I'll be like, buddy, when in Rome, act Roman. This is advanced metaphysics. People think advanced spirituality is, yo man, I don't want to be human. I'm going to go be like some next level, transcendental being in another dimension. Why should I suffer here on earth as a human being? Little do you know, this is one of the most advanced training grounds. You're in one of the most advanced places. You're literally in that part of worldhood where it manufactures advanced beings. Why do you think we're looking at suffering? The idea of the soul in religion is deathless. Do you understand? the torment of heaven and hell seems to be a torment for the personality, for the idea of you. The idea of you can go to heaven and hell, correct? But what if you are not the idea of you? What is going to heaven and hell? And I'm not saying there isn't a reality of heaven and hell, okay? I'm not saying like, I can't see what's beyond these clouds, but I'm going to tell you what there's. No. I'm honest enough to, it's one of the coolest feelings when I find something I don't know. It's like, you understand? Because usually my mind sees multiple probabilities. Ever since I realized I could look at something from multiple angles, I'm telling you guys, all this thing that we think one individual is superior to another individual, this is cultural people worship. Okay, it's a species. If the species fails, we're all stupid. If the species succeeds, we're all smart. If the species advances, we are all advanced beings. If the species, gets rid of itself, it's like fools. Right? So it's like, how do we want to remember our own species? Where is that honor? It's missing. I feel it as a being in this world. I feel the honor of my species. It should be as heavy as samurai level, or knights that would in some sense live for the great kingdoms of mankind. Do you understand? Like, people are going to be like, yo, this is just some chill podcaster, just sitting in front of outside of Starbucks giving a podcast. I am asking my beloved species to remember its royal position in manifestation. We serve, all of us, the future generations. Anybody who is alive right now, I don't care you're a billionaire, trillionaire, we are all employees of the future generations. We are all serving the opportunity for our grandkids to smile together. Great to the power of infinity, grandkids to smile together. That is what we are doing here. Enough with the ideological jersey wearing and, yo, I'm on this team, you're on that fictional team, well, screw you, I'm gonna start war. It's like, do you understand? It's like non-fictional realities are starting fictional wars. Because let me tell you the truth, to be a person in the middle of nowhere is a fictitious act. This is also an insight that can come from, your mystical experience. The idea is, this is Mr. Within's, this is one of my prayers for humanity. Like some people, they're like, yo, they cry or their heart breaks when something is lost and it'll never be back again. But for me, my heart breaks when we could have done something and we didn't. Why do you think, as a being, I am talking this much? Why? Rise, mankind. Rise. Our species evidently deserves a greatness beyond its conception, right? There's this beautiful idea in religion. Everything started from God, and everything returns to God. Now take this in. The future is inconceivable. The future, when humanity lives for the greatness of the future, that, you might not believe it, but that's a way of getting close to that which is the most advanced. Advancement is beautiful. I'm a person telling the species, the idea of the advanced civilization saved my life. It saved me at a point where I was ready to break my philosophical position in my context. Like, do you understand? Like, I have this attitude where I'm like, I watch from a distance. When I say watch from a distance, like when I'm talking about my karma, I'm saying like, I watch the moment. I watch. Keep watching the moment. And then, when I know then the action is instantaneous. But sometimes the intensity, this might sound bizarre, but we might not be able to predict the future. But if I'm gonna go grab a cup and fill it up with water and drink it, that's predicting the future. If I can do it, that means, do you understand? All the things we are like, yo, that's impossible. If we did it, it'd be possible. Like, you understand? It'd be we brought the future here. What I'm trying to say, guys, is that I woke up from this weird coin flip thing of being like, yo, this guy behaved the way I interpret bad, so this guy is bad. Yo, this guy behaved the way I interpret good, this guy is good. No, people are not. It's like everything you see about a physical, biological human being is the tip of the iceberg. I found so much contentment when I was like, yo, I have no idea how other people are experiencing their own realities, how they are to themselves, so they are unknown beings to me. And this is why I was like, yo, how when unknown beings communicate with unknown beings, politeness is smart. It's not just that. I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's just cool to me. People, I don't know, explorers had to go travel to new lands. When I have a conversation with a new person, it's like, yo, it's like another being, another way, like this, something in this world is working, right? You might not believe it. If trees could talk, I'd probably go interview them. I'd be like, hey man, I'm so sorry, have some water, please, and it's like, so can we conduct the interview? Imagine I asked the trees, it's like, would you like some water? And the tree, imagine, like Lord of the Rings 2, tree and the tree's like, yes. And I'd be like, yo, bring that helicopter with that gallon of water or something, those capsules they have. It's like, yo, our trees are thirsty, guys. Trees are thirsty. Go and get them some water. I think comedians are gonna save climate change. I think climate change, comedians have to start making so many jokes about how we're messing up our climate that people are gonna be like, ha ha, ha, wait a minute. Anyways, I appreciate the years of this moment. The intent is, this sentence has come to me often: an advanced civilization is the future's birthright. Project Civilization 2.0, which is my life's work and what I will be doing in the future. My vision of bringing forth a new civilization. Not a new civilization, but trying to see, like, how can we design the blueprints at least, or how can we plant the seeds for the most advanced civilization for the future generations. There is enough incredible ingenuity in this world to solve all these problems. It's just miscommunication. You might not believe it, but the problems on this planet are misunderstandings. Like, can you imagine our species goes extinct because two world leaders misunderstood each other? Like, how freaking embarrassing would that be? Imagine, like, there's a hall of, just like a hall of champions, or like the hall of warriors, or like some sort of Valhalla, for Viking Norse mythology. Imagine there was a Valhalla for all extinct species, where species went on all, or some sort of Valhalla for advanced civilizations. It's a crazy idea, but anyways, I mean, I've talked about it as the cosmic archive of advanced civilizations, actually. People can go find that talk and let me know what they think of it. So what I'm saying, guys, is that if our species, like, if in that, like, advanced civilization Valhalla, they're like, yo, how did you guys go extinct? And we're like, yo, two of our species members argued and we all got destroyed because they pressed the wrong button. Do you know how freaking embarrassing that would be? Do you know how freaking embarrassing nuclear war would be? Just for the species. Like, man, were we that stupid and we didn't know? Like, were we that stupid that we were engineering our own demise? For what freaking purpose? Like, I don't even understand. Like, doesn't even the evil person want to exist? Doesn't the evil person want to live in an advanced civilization? If you're an evil person and want to live in an advanced civilization, you have to stop playing the good and evil game, help build the advanced civilization with your fellow species members, and then go be in good and evil for your own 100 years of life on this planet. I mean, like, what are you doing? Do you understand? The life of our species outlives all of us. I'm here for, like, you know, I don't know, like maybe 100 years or something. Like a human lifespan. After that, it's done. All my joys, all my pleasures, all my, good times with, the women, of this world. Like, I'm telling you, all of this is just for 100 years. That means I'm telling you, sure, it does make sense to just, live. If you are an ant, live like an ant. But if you are a mountain, live like a mountain. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, whoever you are in this world, how advanced you are. Because we can lie to others, but not to ourselves. That means if you are honest, you access the totality of yourself. How do you think it happens? And what is honesty? Honesty is a moment so simple and effortless that it cannot be distrusted. Because it's you. It's what's left when you stop doing anything. That's when you suddenly see, life is simple too. And it's beautiful that way. But for me, I'm like, advanced civilization while we have shapes, while we're biological, while we can communicate, while we have everything, while we're still human. Let us build something incredible. Let us not just have been like, that humanity that built AI, and AI built everything for us. I mean, AI will become one of mankind's, I've said it that just like we say dogs are man's best friend, in the future, AI will be man's best friend. But I've also talked about it as a disciple of humanity, one of humanity's greatest disciples, and also as one of humanity's second youngest children. But anyways, this is in the context of those lectures. So anyways, guys, thank you for listening. What is human decency? It is allowing whatever this is to happen, right? For this process. Like, let's see how great our species is. If you judge yourself based on the past, you'll be like, I've done, I don't know, who knows, like, whoever you are, like, you might have done bad things, good things. You limit your future if you think you are to be just like the past. The past is great insight, but nowhere has it said that human beings have to clone each other. That's weird. Can you imagine, like, the roses, and like, imagine all the ideological systems on this planet. Imagine there's like roses, there's this garden filled with roses, tulips, dandelions, and imagine suddenly the dandelions are like, all of you have to be dandelions. The dandelions are the truth. Only have the truth. And imagine the roses are like, no, all of you have to believe in, you become roses. The roses have the truth. And imagine the tulips are like, no, all of you have to become tulips. The tulips have the truth. And all of them are like, we believe in God and we love God's creation, but they are trying to change God's garden. They are trying to possess God's garden. That means Adam and Eve, after, like, this might sound bizarre, but even when Adam and Eve, let's say the idea that they fell from the Garden of Eden, who said we stopped biting from the forbidden fruit? I will tell you, whoever you are, I have lived in this life and I know people can change. As long as people can change, people can be forgiven. As long as people can be forgiven, they can be redeemed. As long as they can be redeemed, they can advance. They can return. Whoever you are, whatever faults you have in this world, maybe there hasn't been someone to come and say, hey, time to live for the species now. This doesn't mean to ignore ourselves and destroy ourselves, right? I'm not saying like, destroy yourself and think you are a hero. I'm saying we are intelligent enough as a species, to find ways or design ways where it's a win-win strategy for the individual efforts and collective efforts. That means we should try to, as a species, and all the greatest minds, hopefully you will meet me in the School of Athens, which I will, create that Colosseum in the future. So, I guess what I am left with to say, I don't know, there has been moments in life, in this lifetime, I'll say it frankly, that I remember I just felt a moment where I didn't know what to do anymore. And I just looked at the sky, and I had this habit of raising my hands in the air. And I was like, okay, I don't know. If you know, show me, tell me. And it was this moment where I felt like, oh, forgive me, O wise ones of this world, for if I had known my blind spots, I would have traveled back in time to change them. But that is what it means to be human. In the honor of the brilliance, of the destiny of souls in a world, smile as if the great victory never went anywhere. Thank you for listening. Rise, mankind, rise.